Many businesses will take years before they can recover from the impact of the pandemic and return to pre-crisis level. While some were forced to shut its doors, the majority continue to have a strong and positive outlook for opportunities in 2022 and beyond. I am pleased to introduce our opening keynote speaker, Mr. Joe Canterbury, founder, Chaucer Global, who will be addressing the franchising state of play, the road to 2022 and beyond. Over to you, Joe.
Hello, my name is Joe Canterbury, and I'm very excited to be here today with all of you virtually. I am coming to you from Austin, Texas, here in the US, and look forward to the day in the not so distant future when I'm able to be in person again in Southeast Asia and China. And just look very forward to talking about the outlook of franchising and licensing in Asia today. And let me just dive right in from the 30,000 meter view, looking across Asia. And I think the important point to start with is for us all to step back, remember how franchising has been and will continue to be one of the best ways for entrepreneurs to build great businesses, and in a somewhat de-risked manner, working with great brands and franchisors. And it will continue to be the main way that that brands and franchisors expand internationally. And with that, we have to look at different industries and sectors, because clearly the impact of the pandemic has varied greatly by industry, and I'll unpack some of these as I go through. The lockdowns that all countries and all cities have experienced at different points in time, some much more extended than others, have, of course, been a huge theme. And as we look at, the world of retail, food and beverage, and many other concepts, it has really hurt those concepts very focused on the on-site experience and delivery. On the other hand, those that already were able to adapt quickly and be able to leverage their existing digital platform, delivery, pickup platforms, or build those out quickly, have often done that the very best. And then I'll also talk some about the impact of the massive drop in tourism and business travel, which has also impacted some countries across Asia and within Southeast Asia significantly. Whereas over in China, the impact has not been so great in terms of the international travel coming in. Clearly, here in Southeast Asia, Thailand, where I'm very, very active in building on a franchise business, relies heavily on tourism, and will continue to feel that impact for years. So we'll talk more about that. Just to dive in, and this is meant to be just very high level here initially. The world of quick service restaurant generally has performed very well, particularly if you had drive-throughs, if you're able to very kind of quickly use third-party platforms or maybe your own to drive delivery. And if you already had or able to quickly roll out mobile ordering and pickup solutions, both from operational point of view and from digital, that has helped tremendously. And perhaps one of the best examples globally has been Domino's Pizza. Domino's Pizza has just soared actually globally through the pandemic. One of my business partners is the principal and franchisee for Domino's Pizza in China, and it's been an amazing 18 months. Casual dining and fast casual hit much harder, much more of a dine-in focus, big menus, a lot of complexity in supply chain. And, those that were able to move quickly to having, to be able to do delivery and streamline the menu, have done the best. Healthcare, we've all experienced it. The leap to telemedicine has forever changed healthcare. Most patients and consumers around the world would now say how much they love it, how much easier it is for at least certain cases. And then the world of education, while initially such a shock to the system for private education, ultimately was able to move online very quickly with Zoom and many other platforms. At the same time, we know students around the world, be it young students or adult students, are a little bit zoomed out. And so going forward, it's going to be the right hybrid model. In China, however, major policy change has basically crushed the private education business. And then on retail, there has been obviously a significant drop across the region, but those that have already recovered well and are starting to grow and expand significantly are those that already were very strong in e-commerce and mobile ordering and pickup, but also those that already have done a very good job or improved the immersive shopping experience. And being able to really drive overall omni-channel. And then also, those that were able to navigate their leases with landlords and be able to manage the talent challenges and getting talent back in and working again as in-store traffic picked up have also done very well. So just looking a bit more at food and beverage and looking out to 2022 and beyond, it's going to be an excellent year for franchise growth by and large across most industries and segments. Most countries are expected to have significant growth as economies are starting to rebound. Travel is opening up. And we are seeing in many countries across Asia high rates of vaccination, which are significantly helping open up and drive retail, food and beverage, healthcare, and many other industries. And the food and beverage side specifically, it's going to be the next few years look very good. There will be, we will see some more focus on changing consumer behaviors. And that's going to both mean adapting existing menus and concepts, but also seeking new brands to bring in. And we'll talk more about the better for you trend and what that means, but also, increasingly consumers are looking for social connectivity and they're looking for more of an experience. And there's there's already a number of experiential concepts that combine entertainment and social connection and eating, but there's a lot over here where I am in the U.S. and the UK, Australia, and Korea and Japan and China. These concepts are booming, and they are going to be looking to come into Southeast Asia and across the rest of Asia. And it's brands like Topgolf, which I'm involved with as a franchisee in China, Southeast Asia. But it's also concepts like Putt Shack and Punchbowl Social and Flight Club. And the last point I would say is that the particular for QSR, the criticality of mobile ordering, grab and go, delivery, and pickup and drive-through will be very important for years to come. And then a couple of things more, retail specific. The immersive shopping experience is going to be increasingly important. This idea that you can go into the physical store and have a seamless experience back into the e-commerce store is where consumers already were moving, and it's all being accelerated. And so there's brands that have done a very good job and been able to and be able to blend these two experiences, the physical and the digital. Brands like Farfetch, which has done an amazing job in China, Nike Live, and then one maybe less known today in Asia, but it has just boomed the last couple of years in the US, Buff City Soap, which is all about, it sounds like just selling soap, but you actually go in, experience soap being made, and it's just been booming. And they're looking to, like many brands, are looking to expand now internationally. The last thing I'd say before moving on would be, say, on the risk side, we'll talk about a bit more in a few slides. Inflation is coming. It is already starting to show up in the US and Europe. And I'm afraid it's a matter of time before it comes into the US. And then the likelihood of increased business taxes in many countries to help support the cost of the past stimulus. So these are all things that are coming. And I'll now just go a little bit, step back and go a little bit deeper in some specific opportunities and challenges that we're all facing globally and that we're facing in Asia. On the opportunity side, real estate is changed significantly, and specifically the store development strategy and execution are going to look very different going forward than they did in the past. And there's many reasons why. On the one hand, in the shorter term, there are some opportunities because of lower retail real estate cost. But as we look, further out, more strategically, because of the digitization that has been accelerated, because of concepts like ghost kitchens, because of malls really needing to have a lot more entertainment and experiences to offset some of the hit of e-commerce, the development strategies are going to have to change. And that means for some brands and concepts, that may mean fewer storefronts. It may mean smaller formats. It may be more stores inside malls. It may also mean different locations, because when you're more focused on delivery and some for some concepts, you may not always need that big expensive flagship. And this also has a lot of implications to the brands, the franchisors themselves. On the consumer side, perhaps one of the biggest opportunities is to be able to meet the consumers where they are and where they're heading, and especially the rapidly growing group of younger consumers, Gen Z, increasingly, and millennials. And so a couple of trends that I think we're all seeing in our daily lives, in some cases in our businesses. Consumers are so focused on health and wellness. And a part of that, from an eating point of view, is better for you. They're looking for better for you food. And this impacts everything from fast food to casual dining to grocery stores. And so we're seeing things like plant-based protein brands popping up in many different markets in Asia, and partnering with franchise brands like Starbucks. Beyond Meat and Starbucks have a big partnership in China. We're also seeing things with Impossible Burger and Oatly. But there's also the ecological impact and the ecological prioritization that younger consumers have. And that's another reason why you're seeing, increasingly even fast food brands adopting and changing their menu. And then on the digitization side, in many ways, this is a great news. More consumers than ever have moved into e-commerce. They've adopted new habits in terms of ordering online, in terms of engaging with brands through digital loyalty programs and otherwise. And there's now opportunities to be able to to streamline some of the operations, to rethink store layouts and designs, and ultimately to be able to engage consumers and build more loyalty. And on the other side, on some of the challenges, that we're going to continue seeing very much globally, and it's more acute in certain countries than other, is the labor shortages. Here in the U.S., where I am currently, for many months we see brands from McDonald's to Starbucks that are desperate to be able to hire people. You see signing bonuses, unusual for part-time fast food workers. Closer to in Asia, although also globally, it's impacting the whole construction industry. It's resulting in fewer construction workers in Thailand, for example, and also Singapore, which is slowing projects down. Probably the biggest factor that helps us, move beyond this is being able to help give people stability again, knowing that they're going to have a home that's going to go beyond just compensation. It's going to take strong culture. It's going to take recognizing that a lot of employees have kind of changed their priorities, and having to recognize that and focus on things like flexibility. And this is impacting all parts of the franchise business, as we all know. Just to hit some of the enablers that will hopefully get us all out of this mess and be moving towards continued borders opening up, travel beginning to accelerate, but also the confidence that we can avoid future lockdowns, and giving both from employees to consumers more confidence. The trend line is good. We do see a couple of countries that have done an excellent job, again, the very high vaccination rates. And other ones are lagging for a wide range of reasons. And so as we look at Southeast Asia, we do see Thailand and Indonesia in particular lagging quite a bit. It's going to be critical to continue rolling out the vaccinations for those countries to not only open up, but to then, which is happening. As we know, there is, foreign tourism is starting to be allowed back into Indonesia and Thailand. But for it to be maintained and for travelers to be confident, it's going to be critical to keep the vaccination rates up. The business travel it's a real challenge. Frankly, it's a bigger challenge than recreational tourism. I am presenting to everyone today, via Zoom. We've all changed the way we work, and in some ways, it's changed forever. At the same time, we're all hungry to be in person again. We're all hungry to spend time with our teams, with our partners, in market. I know I'm very excited to get my first trip back to Southeast Asia, but I and many others, be it traveling from Thailand to China, Singapore to Philippines, the U.S. into Southeast Asia. We're not going to travel as frequently as we did before. Companies are going to be hesitant to do as many conferences. So there's going to be a very lingering impact on business travel. And as we just kind of look at some of the good news, tourism is projected to recover. It's going to take a couple of years, though. It's going to take a couple of years for Thailand to get back to its very high level of tourism rates. But the current trend line looks good, and the developments of countries starting to open up borders without having 14-day quarantines is going to help significantly, and hopefully they'll be able to continue. Just a few thoughts before I switch back to my own personal experience in terms of how to think about and address some of these challenges in this kind of very fluid landscape. It could be a while, as we just talked about, before tourism is back. There's the risk that there could be other shutdowns again, or that tourists and business travelers wait a much longer period of time. And so one thing that's going to be very important is even more localization. And that's more localization around menu, but also as much as you can around your supply chain. That means working closely with the franchisor. That means really trying to work with them to be allowed to do more local sourcing if much has to be imported, and really double downing on being able to find as many local or regional vendors to help offset both the supply chain challenges, but also the risk of fewer international guests in the future. One trend that we all are reading about, we're starting to see it, and it is going to accelerate. It is going to be automation. It does not matter if we're talking about, Kentucky Fried Chicken testing robots, Domino's Pizza with autonomous vehicles in the U.S. They're already starting to roll out, or Nike even implementing, massive vending machines as a way to be able to sell products. There is a lot more coming, and it's going to be important to kind of pick and choose those that can balance the investment with the return, but also with still the need for a great, for many brands anyway, a great in-person experience and the human touch. And then as we're all thinking about, brands that we may want to work with in the future, concepts that are that are very relevant in terms of being on trend, in terms of being innovative. It's going to be really important to look at some of these brands that are starting their international journey. We're looking to accelerate it and look for opportunities to work with some of those brands. And then I just want to wrap up. I think I've gone over just a little bit with a couple of my own experiences. I've had to, together with my business partners and teams on the ground, like most people, I have had to do everything from home the last 18 months. My last trip into Southeast Asia was late February 2020. My last trip to China was December 2019. And in between, I and my partners, we've had to build teams in China and in Southeast Asia. We've had to work closely with teams to evaluate and to select locations. We've had to work with the franchisor based both in the US and the UK, all virtually. We have had to deal with construction stoppage on a venue that's under development in Bangkok. We've had to deal with the occasional flare up in China of a relatively small number of COVID cases in one city, but the travel being quickly shut down. And these are things that we're all dealing with. But on the positive side, one of my best experiences in the last 3 or 4 months was that our operations leader for our first Topgolf venue in Bangkok were able to come to the US. They're able to spend 6 weeks training inside Topgolf venues in various cities in the US. And I was able to go travel to Las Vegas and to meet them all in person. And so, meeting, key members of your team and leadership in person for the first time. And I can say it was a very enjoyable couple of days. And I look very forward, of course, to be able to spend more time in the near future with them in Singapore, Thailand, and then with our team over in China. And so with that, I'm going to thank you for your attention and hope some of those points and thoughts were helpful. And I wish you all a great day and enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe, for the insightful sharing.